Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. So we've got very dry and relatively warm conditions over the course of this weekend, but come Tuesday, Wednesday time, perhaps even Monday time for some areas further westwards, it's going to be turning a lot more unsettled. Westerly winds are going to be returning with big low pressure systems, and we could see quite a deluge through the middle of the week. Now, as we have alluded to from the latest few videos, we have been seeing hints of a Scandinavian high, and that continues today from the GFS, GM, Eastern WF and the ensembles. Again, not producing anything cold imminently, but the signal is continuing, and the possibility of something very cold towards the end of the month or into early December is probably above average at the moment with what is going on up towards Scandinavia. Whenever we do get a Scandinavian high, it will try and police the winds in. So with the winter look aheads we've had, with the blocking patterns we've been seeing in those winter look aheads, and now in the mid to long range models, as I have been saying, and looking likely we see something at least colder and drier towards the end of the month and the start of December. So the next sort of 2, 3, 4 weeks. Again, it is longer range stuff, but it is something that is very important, because I know a lot of people will be interested to see what is going to be happening as we head into December, of course, the start of winter. So that is something we're going to be keeping a very close eye on, and we'll be seeing what the longer range and the ensemble members are showing today. And of course, tomorrow we'll probably have our final winter look ahead, where we will be rounding up the latest sort of monthly and weekly models to be seeing whether that blocking signal to our north still does remain. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So if we do start on the live radar, you can see there is precipitation across the far northwest of Scotland, but normally you'd expect this to be moving eastwards, but in fact it is actually moving westwards and northwards. It's moving away from the UK as the higher pressure building over the top of us, putting up a southerly wind, is pushing this away. Now, it's only temporarily getting pushed away, and it's going to be moving back in for some in the far west of Ireland, maybe as soon as tomorrow into Monday. But for most areas, it's going to be raining dry for the next sort of 72 hours, and relatively warm as well. Temperatures could be getting into the mid to maybe even high teens. It is all dependent on sunshine amounts, because there can be some thick cloud trapped under this. So it is all going to depend on what happens with the cloud. So that is something we can't really forecast too well. But if you do see a lot of sunshine around, wouldn't be surprised if your temperatures go as high as 16, 17 or 18 degrees over the course of the next few days. Now, I'm recording this around midday, and if we do put on the 2-meter temperatures, you can see a lot of yellows around, which shows that it is a generally quite mild, if not getting towards a warm day. Temperatures at the moment widely in the low, touching the mid-teens, and you can see across parts of southern southwest England a tinge of orange there, showing temperatures already into the mid-teens. You can see it's relatively warm across parts of western and southern France, and that's where we're getting our air mass from. But of course, it is now heading into the winter period, so this air here is not particularly warm at all. It's sort of getting around sort of 20 degrees maybe, so UK seeing max temperatures of maybe 16, 17, 18, but it is very mild. Like, I must say, this is incredibly mild for this time of year. We're going to be seeing complete reversal next week, where temperatures are average to below average with those westerly winds. We could be seeing highs of 10 degrees lower than this, maybe 8, 9 degrees max temperatures. So yeah, turning much cooler next week, so do cherish this warmer, drier weather we do have. As I keep saying this over the course of this autumn, that we're going to get to a point where these sort of generally mild conditions are not going to be possible anymore, and we keep getting another little mild spell, but I do think this probably is the last period where you can definitively say that we're going to be seeing milder and drier conditions, because over the course of the next few weeks, these sort of milder, drier, high pressure systems will start to produce an inversion, because we're into the winter period. Very low solar conditions. We see a lot of radiation at the surface, so it almost gets impossible to see these sort of warmer air masses unless we pull it in from a southwesterly direction instead of a southerly direction. And of course, the southwesterly direction would most likely be accompanied by strong winds, cloud, and rain. So that's why it's very difficult to get sort of 15 degrees above in the winter, even though the air masses are possible. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens over the next couple of weeks, but definitely this looks like our sort of last milder spell, at least for quite a long time. If you go over to the UKV and have a look at that is showing over the next couple of weeks, you can see that precipitation moving to the north and the west away. And you can see it's very dry today, very dry tomorrow for most areas, but a bit of precipitation pushing to the far west of Republic of Ireland, and that will progress eastwards through Sunday evening and impacting most areas through Monday. Initially, the rain band does dissipate away, and through Monday evening into Tuesday, another big batch of heavy rain, giving an absolute deluge on Tuesday, quite widely across England, Wales, Scotland. Dry a bit drier across the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, but it will be peppered by showers through Tuesday evening and into Wednesday again. More heavy rain pushing in, and again another deluge through Wednesday evening into Thursday as west southwesterly winds move in, so turning a much more unsettled. And you can see that because we've got big lows pushing in, and again you can have a look at the upper air temperatures. There will be slightly milder sectors, but generally the air mass is going to be around freezing or a couple of degrees either side at 850 HPA, so much cooler next week. If you do put on the 2 metre temperatures, you can see today those temperatures rising to as high as 16 or 17 in the south, maybe slightly cooler in the north with a bit more thicker cloud. As we head into tomorrow, overnight temperatures will drop away to maybe 8 or 9 degrees, but that's not too cold for this time of year. And you can see tomorrow highs 16, 17 across central areas, the far west of Republic of Ireland, only 9, 10 or 11 with the rain band moving in. And those are the sort of conditions that will be taking over for the whole of the British Isles over the course of the next 3 to 5 days. As we head into Monday, you can see once again temperatures in the far south and the east, maybe 14, 15, but weather fronts pushing in, and you can see by Tuesday those temperatures not getting much above 11 or 12, and most areas actually around that sort of 8 to 10 degree range, so much cooler. And into Wednesday as well, overnight temperatures wide in the mid-single digits, and Wednesday afternoon, look at that, really struggling above single digits there for most areas, maybe the far south, getting 10 to 12 degrees, so turning much cooler next week. A good 8 to 10 degree temperature drop for some areas, and yet it's going to be turning much cooler and much more unsettled. But these are generally average to maybe slightly below, slightly above average conditions next week. You know, it's nothing actually that special. It's just we've been so mild. We are so mild at the moment. But of course, we'll have a look at the longer range in a minute, and you'll be able to see the potential for something even colder towards the end of the month and start of December is continuing to show. Now, if you go over to the GFS and see what that is showing over the next couple of weeks with this big Scandinavian high potentially building in, you can see that Scandinavian high builds soon in sort of Tuesday, Wednesday time, and is starting to plunge colder air into Eastern Europe. You can see all this bitterly cold air pushing in there. Again, it's difficult to see here, but you can even bet on the potential equivalent. Look at all these blues and purples, very cold air spreading into Eastern Europe. And we stay on the westerly side of it, though. Again, that high pressure continues there, eventually getting pushed away around day 10 period, and we get very unsettled. But that high pressure never moves away, and all the way to 384 hours, you can see we've still got higher pressure towards Svalbard, up towards Scandinavia, and generally over the Arctic. You look at the Northern Hemisphere view, plenty of blocking there. So, again, this is not producing anything cold for the UK, I must emphasise that, but the blocking pattern remains. We're still seeing this up there. It's not a transient little Scandinavian high. This is a sort of prominent blocking pattern that we've been seeing on the winter look aheads and on the longer range charts for quite a while. And now it's coming into the sort of mid to shorter range models. On their extended range at least. So we've got to keep an eye on this. If we did see this blocking pattern continue, I wouldn't be surprised towards the end of the month and start of December to see something significantly cold, or at least a lot colder than average, with freezing temperatures, overnight frosts, cold wind chill, something quite a shock to the system. So got to keep an eye on it, but for the time being, we're staying generally westerly and mild. The atmosphere definitely is setting up for potentially some sustained colder weather for parts of Europe towards the end of the month and start of December. Just need to keep our eye on it. If you go over to the GEM, see how that does compare. Again, higher pressure building in at the moment. It's shifting all the way to our north, trying to pull an easterly wind. Actually, it's very close. That easterly wind gets as far as sort of Netherlands, Belgium, and Denmark. Look at that cold air moving in again. It's difficult to see it exactly there because at the 850 HPA temperature level, it is getting warmed up, but the cold block of air is there. You can probably see it better on the dew points there. You can see all these freezing dew points getting dragged from Russia, and look at that over Scandinavia and parts of northern Europe, really cold dew points trying to head their way towards the UK, but we're getting shifted away. And in the longer term, you can see right at day 10, we are westerly, but still have that blocking to our north and our east, and again, we need to keep an eye on the extended range to see what is happening. It is going to be a battleground between the westerly winds and the easterly winds with the high pressure to our north. It is one of these sort of patterns where I would not be surprised to be seeing very big flip-flops from the models. One day it may show a bitterly cold easterly wind, another day the westerlies win out and we go mild and Atlantic driven. It's that sort of pattern, and we're going to have to decipher over the next couple of weeks. It's going to be setting up a very interesting next few weeks if this pattern does continue, this sort of conflicting views does continue. We're going to have to really keep our eye on it. If we do have a look at the ECMWF, see how that does compare over the next couple of weeks. Got a southerly wind at the moment, high pressure built towards Scandinavia, trying to pull in that easterly wind, but we stay generally westerly. But once again, similar to the GFS, you can see the elongated low pressure systems getting pushed around by this high pressure building towards Svalbard and Scandinavia. Look at the upper air temperatures, very cold air across parts of Russia and trying to push into Eastern Europe. And again, if we go to the Northern Hemisphere view, big blocking here. That really did get going. Started to drag this cold air from Siberia around. It would take a good few days, maybe up to a week potentially, beyond this. So right at the end of November, that could produce something cold. And we'd see these low pressure systems slide to our south, the jet stream slide to our south, if we did see that come off. But we'd need to see another couple of days at least of this to produce that. So I must emphasise, no significant cold in the short range, but the models are definitely setting up atmospheric conditions that could, within the next sort of 2, 3, 4 weeks, produce something significantly cold. The pattern is there, we've just got to decipher and see what happens though. But for the time being, it's going to be staying generally around average and westerly. If you do have a look at the ensemble members, you can see this really quite well emphasised. The GFS ensemble members, I'll just refresh it, just updating as I'm recording this, goes all the way up to about the 27th of November. You can see very mild at the moment, but generally towards average by Monday, and you can see we stay around average, slightly above, slightly below, and there's a very tight spread between that, so it's a pretty consistent west-northwesterly or southwesterly air mass, depending on the exact orientation of the low, and generally very unsettled. So again, from these ensembles, you wouldn't think there's a Scandinavian high building in at all, but it is. And these ensemble members are just seeing the upper air temperatures that are coming in from the west. If the Scandinavian high does really get going, we would expect within the next week to start to see a few of these ensemble members getting those upper air temperatures between that -5 and -10 level. And if we saw something exceptionally cold, below that -10 level. But we are very early on in the winter, and of course, actually, still the end of the autumn. So those cold air masses to our north and our east are not incredibly cold. Their sort of peak cold comes at sort of January to March time. So if we did see this pass in January to March, we could really be going into the freezer. But being so early on in the winter or late autumn, the best chances we've got on anything cold would be the sort of the -5 to -10 region. I'd expect if this pattern continued to be seeing some of these lines going down there over the course of the next week or two. But as I said, it is something we just need to keep a very close eye on. For the time being, it's generally westerly, generally very unsettled, apart from the next couple of days, and it's going to feel pretty cool. Even though the upper air temperatures are around average, it's going to feel colder towards the surface with wind around, cloud and rain. So definitely getting out the hats and gloves potentially if you're out early in the morning or in a deluge. It is going to feel pretty chilly out there. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you do enjoy this weekend, which is drier and generally milder. Interesting conditions, as I said, coming up over the next couple of weeks. We'll just have to see how it does play out. The ingredients are there for something significantly cold. And of course, with the cost of living crisis, it's not particularly something we actually want. But we can't disregard the facts that there are blocking patterns around. And the chances of blocked cold weather are increasing every day that these models still continue to show that blocking pattern, and they do slowly start to shift it potentially into the mid to shorter range. And if it did happen, then we would be really starting to talk about it and ramp up our interest. So as I said, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.